People buy you before they buy your product and service. So create a good impression because you never get a second chance to create a great first impression. Good morning, IIBM. My name is Bal Krishna, and we are back again with yet another interesting session. I welcome you all to IIBM's induction program of 21st batch, Ignite 2020. Before we begin, let me take you through the itinerary of the session. The session is of 100 minutes of knowledge sharing, followed by 20 minutes of question and answers. So do post your interesting, igniting, and awakening questions. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce you to my friend from industry, Ms. Ritu Punjabi. Ritu is an internationally certified image enhancer, personal branding, and etiquette coach. Ritu helps her client to build a persona with her expert sense of styling and image management. Institutions, hospitality, small medium enterprises to multinational corporates count on Ritu for transforming their executives to be their brand ambassador with strong communication, personal image, influencing skills, and leadership. Ritu's few notable clients are Wipro, Rotary International, Novotel, Tech Mahindra, Oriflame, etc. Ritu is also been very instrumental in grooming students before their entry in corporate. Ritu believes in philosophy which says image is inside out, because when you look good, you feel good, and in turn, you perform better. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the style icon and the lady with charismatic persona, Miss Ritu Punjabi.
Yes, I'll just turn it on.
Yes. Now over to you. All the best.
Lovely. So, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for your patience until we sorted our technical issues. So, Bali, could we have the presentation? All right. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this wonderful session where we're going to be speaking about first impressions and our self image. And we're going to be taking you through a journey of understanding what first impression really is, how it matters, and a little bit of self introspection as well. Now, please remember we're going to try and make it really fun and interactive. So, I would be requesting you to share your thoughts and opinions on the chat. So, please keep that handy and keep a pen and a paper handy with you at this point in time. All right. So we're going to begin this session. I'm going to be showing you a few pictures of people, and I want you to tell me what profession do you think they belong to, and leave your comment in the chat box. Does that sound good? All right. So we will start with the first one. What profession do you think he belongs to? Leave your message in the chat box. What about her? What profession do you think she belongs to? Lovely. So I've got a lot of responses from the first one. That is a doctor. What about this lady on the screen right now? Teacher. Okay. All right. So a lot of us saying teacher. Lovely. What about this lady? What profession do you think she belongs to? All right. So businesswoman, teacher, professor. That was all for the earlier one. Now everyone is mentioning model, fashion designer. Wonderful, wonderful. What about this guy here? What profession do you think he belongs to? Okay, so someone says businessman. Okay, lovely. Great. is still saying he is a model, a corporate man, corporate worker, manager, businessman. Wonderful, wonderful. What about this girl here? What profession do you think she belongs to? Lovely. So we've got a lot of responses. And this girl, what do you think she belongs to? Which profession? Student. Okay, lovely. Anybody else? Great. What about this particular man here? What profession do you think he belongs to? Okay. Student or emerging professional. This was all for the previous one. And this one here, tattoo artist, biker maybe. All right. Okay, rock star, wrestler. Wonderful. All right. So girls, all the girls present here on this webinar, do you think you would be able to trust him? Put your answer in yes or no in the chat box. Do you think you can trust him? Guitarist, tattoo artist. Girls, can I have an answer of, do you think you could trust him? Yes, no, no, okay. So a lot of us are saying no, no, no. All right. Now, what if I told you he is the same person as the doctor? So a lot of you are saying, no, I can't trust him, maybe not. Okay. Now, had he been in front of you with the lab coat, I will immediately trust him. But he's in front of you wearing casual attire with all of his tattoo, showing, all of the art showing, and suddenly you feel you can't trust him. So what have we really done over here? The person is the same, but we have changed our opinions about the person just the way he has dressed himself, right? So what have we really done? We have formed an impression about this particular person. We have created an opinion about all the people that we just spoke about. We have created an opinion about them only and only by the looks, by the way they are dressed, by their body language, by their grooming. And that's how impressions are formed on a day-to-day basis. All right. Now, let me ask you a question. How many of us here want to be successful? Leave your comments in the chat box. Yes, no. How many of us want to be successful? Yes, okay, I'm getting responses saying yes, capital letters. We all want to be successful, right? Absolutely. Now, to be successful, we always think and we always feel that there's so much that I have to do. There are so many books that I have to read. There's so much out there. To be successful, there are so many things. But what if I told you there are only two very simple things that you need to be successful? And these two basic things is, first, getting a chance to do something. And second is, when you get that chance, you have to perform to your fullest potential. These are the only two basic things that you really need to be successful. How many times have we actually had people say, मुझे बस एक चांस दे दो और मैं बता दूंगा कि मैं कितना अच्छे से वो काम कर सकता हूँ. We are all waiting for that chance. But the point here is, how do I really get that chance? You get that chance simply by creating a powerful first impression. That is through your appearance. How are you walking? What kind of etiquette are you using? What kind of grooming are you using on a day-to-day basis? That is where your first impression really comes into picture, and people are creating an opinion about you. They're thinking whether I can trust this person or not. They're thinking whether you can do a particular job or not. They're thinking whether you are capable or not. And then comes the next step. That is, you need to perform when you get that chance. Sachin Tendulkar got the chance to play in the Indian cricket team, but had he not performed on the day that he got the chance, he wouldn't have been as successful today. So many of the star kids, they get a chance to perform in the film industry, but if they do not give the right performance when they get that chance, they've lost it completely. They are not successful, right? So both have to come hand in hand, right? And your first impression and getting that chance comes through your appearance. That is how you're presenting yourself to the world, through your clothing, grooming, body language, and etiquette. And that is your performance when you get that chance will completely depend on your soft skills. That is, what kind of leadership skills do you have? What kind of time and management, stress management skills do you have? How do you work in a team? So all of it really needs to come. But today, majorly what we're going to be speaking about is how do you really create that first impression? All right. So now, if I tell you that you are very hungry, it's about 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and all restaurants around your locality have shut down, and we are right now only having one hotel, which is a very upscale hotel, and they say we don't have anything left to serve you for lunch except for salad. Okay, and they give you option A and they give you option B. Which option would you choose? Leave your comment in the chat box. A or B? Remember, you're paying 500 rupees for this salad and there is nothing else readily available and you're very, very hungry. A, okay. Again, A. A lot of people saying A. Okay, wonderful. All of us saying A. Nobody seems to have liked B at all. Why so? It doesn't look that bad. Okay, so we have one B. Okay, I'm going to take you through one more question. Ladies, you are stranded in a lonely area at about 10 p.m. at night, and there are two taxis that stop in front of you. Okay, taxi A has the driver who looks like this, and taxi B has a driver who looks like that. Which taxi are you going to opt for? Ladies, a question to you, A or B? Ladies, waiting for your answers. A, okay, a lot of us again saying A. All right, I'm going to be going to be taking you to another question. Now you need a tissue paper, your nose is running, okay, and somebody hands you out tissue paper A and tissue paper B. Tissue paper A is slightly crumpled, tissue paper B is neatly folded, but both are very clean and unused. Which one are you going to opt for, A or B? Okay, B. A lot of us saying B. Nobody wants A. It's also clean and it's unused. Okay, all of us saying B. So now let me make you understand why did I take you through these three slides. If you see in the first slide that we did, it was about food when I'm very, very hungry. The second slide, I was in a crisis situation. I needed a lift back home from an isolated area. And the third one is I need a tissue because my nose is running. But in all three situations, we we sort of made an opinion and decided which option we wanted to take only on the basis of how it looked in front of us. So just imagine if we are doing this with things that are something as basic as food, a paper napkin, and crisis situation. Imagine what are people doing to us on a day-to-day basis, right? So that's where first impressions really counts. Now, what really is your first impression? Your first impression is not something that is in what I think about myself. Your first impression is simply what people think about you. It's you in the mind of others. If I come in front of you this morning and I say that, I'm the best speaker in the world and I can do everything and I'm so good at my job, but my first impression didn't say that to you, I am not good enough. So your first impression is you in the mind of others. But don't be worried. This creation of first impression or the perception of yourself in the mind of others is in your hands. You know how to do it, and we will understand how to really do it. Okay. Your first impression is you in the mind of others. It is a mental picture that offers others create of you. It reflects the condition of your mind and heart. Now, a lot of people say, why do I need to create a first impression? Why do I need to sort of impress other people? We're not doing this to impress people in a very superficial or fake manner. What we are really doing is whatever is on the inside of us, what's in our mind and our heart is what is getting reflected on the outside. That is what your first impression really is. It is inside out, right? And that is why we are going to also be covering self image, because your self image is what is on the inside. So we need to understand that very clearly and bring that out on the exterior to be understood very authentically by people. All right. So, a lot of times when we are speaking to people, we are, meeting people, and at that time we are, communicating through the words that we say, through the sound of our voice, and through our facial expressions. They are the basic three things that we communicate with people with. Now, most often, when we are speaking to people, or we have to go for an interview or something very important, we want to go speak to our professor. Before going, we start framing a sentence in our mind. I will say this, and I will use these big technical words so that I really come across properly and they understand me and all of those things. But we forget to actually think, how are we really going to say these things to people? How are we really going to sort of come out and express or use our tone of voice? What kind of facial expressions are we going to be using? We tend to forget thinking about that. And why is that important? Is because whenever we are communicating or trying to send out a message to somebody, whatever message we are sending out, 7%, only 7% of that message goes through to people with the use of our words. So it doesn't matter whether I'm using extremely technical words or not using technical words. Because how I really say that, my tone is proper or not proper, is it confident, not confident, is what is going to be mattering 38%. And the facial expressions is going to matter 55%. Now just imagine you're sitting in front of an interviewer and giving an interview, and you have thought of everything that you're going to say in the interview. But you also want to communicate to them that you're very, very confident and you're trying to use very confident words. But my voice is not saying that I'm confident. My voice is very dila dala. It is very not crisp enough. It's not assertive enough. And my facial expressions, there is just no confidence. It's showing a little frown. It is showing that underconfidence on my face. Do you think the interviewer is going to believe you? He's not going to believe you, because this entire thing is just not fitting for him anywhere. Now, this is not something that I have made up. This is actually research, and this is a worldwide phenomena that is happening with every person. Whatever I say, 7% matters in my words. My vocal, that is the way I say those, gives out my message 38%. And lastly, my facial expressions give out my communication 55% of it. That's how important it really is. Now, apart from my facial expressions, there are so many other things that you can see. You can see my body language, you can see what I'm wearing, you can see my grooming, my hair done, not done, my nails are dirty, or my makeup done, not done. All of that you can see. And you can also see parts of my etiquette. Am I good enough? Do I have some manners or not? All of this is what people can see about us, and it all comes as part of our first impression. And that's where it is sort of that important to really bring it to the front. And you actually know this since childhood, and we've been making all major decisions on the basis of visual communication. Just think, when you take your younger sibling, or maybe a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old, to a toy store and you tell them that pick any toy you like, I'm going to buy it for you. Which one do you think they will pick? They will pick the one that is the most good looking, the one that has it looks the brightest and has the best color, is the most vibrant. That's what they're going to pick. And that is where it is going to be something that they are doing on the basis of their visual communication, or on the basis of the first impression that the toy had. Now, they don't know the communication framework that we just did. So, why is this happening? Why are our visuals so important? Because when I combine my clothing, my grooming, my body language, and anything that comes to me together, all of it is almost 80% of my communication. And my vocal, that is the words that I use and how I really say it, matters 20%. So both have to come in together. I'm not saying my vocal and verbal is not important. It is very much important. But with that, my visual also becomes equally important. So, why are first impressions so important? Is because the basic nature of the human memory is photographic. Just think, the last time you went for a wedding, okay, and you sort of met a couple of your relatives, and you meeting those same people again after maybe 4 or 5 years, and you haven't been in touch with them. And then they come and ask you, Beta pehchana mujhe? And what's the thing that comes to your mind? हाँ आंटी याद तो आ रहे हो आप. You might even remember what color sari had she worn to the last event, but you might not remember her name, right? So that is because the human basic nature of the human memory is photographic. That's where visuals, how you present yourself, becomes very important and registered in people's minds, right? So what is all really comprised of? Like I mentioned earlier, it comprises of your clothing, your grooming, your body language, including your etiquette. So please be cautious of how you're really presenting yourself. Now, do you think it's not for you? Is it possible for you to not communicate? It's definitely not. At any given point in time, even if I'm not opening my mouth to say anything, I am most definitely communicating to people. So sometimes, if I'm not in a mood to go out with my family or my friends, there is an event in the family, and my parents will say, let's go. And I say, no, I'm just not in the mood. So they say, no, no, just come. It's okay. Don't speak to anybody, but you come. So I say, okay, fine. I won't speak to anybody. I'll come and I'll sit in one corner, let everybody else socialize. But when I'm sitting in that one corner and not speaking to anybody, that is the time that I am actually still communicating with people, and I am sort of giving out a message even through their direct communication, through my visual communication, that is my body language, my facial expressions. What have I worn? Have I even dressed appropriately for the party? If I have not, I've still gone into my casuals for the party. I'm still communicating to them that I really don't care about your party. So at all times, I am communicating. So we come back to a little bit of, some answers on the chat group. I'm again going to show you a few pictures, and I want you to tell me who are these famous personalities. Okay, so here is your first picture. Who is this famous personality? Please put it in the chat box. Who is this famous personality? Do you know his name? Please put it in the chat box. Okay, so I'm getting messages that says Mahatma Gandhi. All right, that's correct. What about this one? Do we know who he is? Okay. Anybody who can tell me who is this famous personality? All right, so I'm getting answers. So someone says Bhagat Singh, someone says Mangal Pandey. All right, okay. That's correct. So most of us have got it right. He is Bhagat Singh. What about him? Who do you think he is? Okay, so we are done with Bhagat Singh. This new picture that we have in front of us, who is he? Anybody? That's right. So he's a monk and he is Dalai Lama. Okay. No worries if you don't know him. He is Dalai Lama. What about this one? Who is he? Can anybody tell me who is he? Okay. Nobody knows who this person is? That's great. So we're getting answers. He is indeed Mahatma Gandhi. Absolutely. So the point here is that if you remember in the first picture of Mahatma Gandhi, how was he dressed? He was dressed in a simple khadi dhoti with a little bit of a wrap around him. Why? Because that was the time he was fighting against the Britishers for our freedom, and he wanted to communicate a message of simplicity. Whereas in this picture, he had the role of being a barrister. So he had to communicate the entire message of communication. So wherever you are, whatever you are doing there, whatever your role is and your goal is, you must dress appropriately to that. Your body language has to be appropriate. How you would create an impression with your family is going to be different from how you would create an impression with your college colleagues, would be different from how you would want to create an impression in front of an interviewer. Everywhere it is going to be different. Your appearance, that includes your body language, your clothing, your etiquette, is going to change, right? So, a quick question. How many how much time do you think it takes to create a first impression? Leave your comments in the chat box. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. How much time do you think it takes to create a first impression? When you meet someone, in how much time can they create an opinion about you? Quick, leave me the time that you think it takes. Okay, so I'm getting some answers on the poll. All right. It's going up and down and up and down. Great. So I'm going to stop the poll here and let's see what results we got. So 15% of us say that it takes 5 minutes to create a first impression. 32% of us say it takes 3 to 7 seconds to create a first impression, and 52% of us say that it takes 50 seconds, 50 seconds to create a first impression. So let me share with you the correct answer is that it takes us only 3 to seconds to create a first impression. Yes, that's how quick our mind registers about people. That's how quick our mind really creates an opinion about the other person. We might not be able to put it down into words of what I think of the other person in these 3 to 7 seconds, but I can most definitely figure out whether I want to trust this person or not, whether I want to work with this person or not, whether this person has the capabilities of being hired in my company or not, or XYZ things. Right? So it takes just 3 to 7 seconds. Sometimes our opinion could even be incorrect. I do not say it's going to be correct 100% of the time. It could be incorrect. However, why is it being incorrect is because I, as a person who is creating that first impression, have not been able to present it well to the world. That's where I say that the entire thing is in my hands. The remote control of creating an impression is in my hands. That's where the onus of the first impression is only and only on you, on us as individuals. So, whatever I present to the world is what they're going to believe. If I present a very confident and strong individual, that's exactly what they're going to believe. But if I present somebody who does not care about what's really going on, is not interested in anything around me, is not capable enough, this is what it is, that's where we sort of fail on creating an impression. Right. So your first impression is your visual resume. So we do write our resumes before we go for an interview. Similarly, our first impression, how are we really creating that, becomes our walking, talking visual resume. Even when you go to college, your first day of college or your multiple days in college, how are you wearing a uniform? How is your body language, how is your etiquette, is going to speak volumes to your friends around you, your professors around you, and it's going to shape the perception that people have about you, right? So as important is our written resume when we go for an interview, equally important is our visual resume, not only for the interview day but at all times, right? So, where all does it really become very important to create that positive first impression? First, when you are with people who don't know you, you've never met them, you're meeting them only for the first time. That is where it becomes very important. So, what situations would these be? These would be your first day of college, your first day of job, your interview, your times when you're going to be meeting some new family, Okay, all of these places where people do not know you is where introduction becomes important. Second is when the opinion of others is important to the achievement of your goals. Now, if you're going for an interview, your goal for that day is to crack that interview. And whose opinion is going to matter in that? The interviewer's opinion is going to matter in that, right? And thirdly, is when you need an edge. In today's world, when there is so much competition, when there are so many things really going around us, we definitely need to have an edge. There are so many people who are studying the same thing as us, who are scoring the same thing as us, who have a similar educational background at us, like us, and when I'm going for an interview, obviously I need an edge over the others to really crack that interview, right? So that's where, when you need an edge, you need to work on the first impression.
Ritu, are you there?
Yes, yes. Sorry. Am I audible?
Yes.
Great. All right. So now we are going to do a quick activity where we are going to be putting in, I'm going to be showing you 3 slides that has certain words written on it. And you need to think for yourself and write down in your notebooks, what is it that you want to create as your first impression when you're going for an interview? Which means that when I am going for an interview, how do I want them to think of me? Or what do I want them to think of me? Do I want them to think that I am capable? Do I want them to think that I care, or I am a good team player, or am I, confident? I have intellect, I have knowledge. What do you really want them to think about? Think of you as. Don't at this point in time think, how will I do? What will I do? We don't want to think about that as yet. We will get to that later. But for now, when you are going for a job interview, just think, what is it that you really want them to think about you as a candidate, and the impression that you want to create. So I'm going to be sharing these few words. Note down and create a full list in your notebook. All right. You may share some on the chat window. I will be receiving that. So I will also keep guiding you on those aspects. But apart from that, I definitely want you to keep this in your notebook for your future reference as well. Okay. So from this page, do you want them to think that you are able, you're adaptable, friendly, confident, you are kind, you're knowledgeable? What do you really want them to think about you? Note down and create a full list in your notebook. Once you're done writing down the words from this page, this slide, please leave a message on the chat group saying done. And once I get more responses, we will move to the next slide. Lovely. So I'm getting responses that we are done. Great. So some of us say we want to be passionate, show that I'm passionate, that I'm honest. Okay, lovely. Great. So I'm going to move to the next one. So from this page, what do you want to communicate from your first impression? That you're patient, you're spontaneous, you're organized, you're powerful, you're sensible. Dynamic, efficient, ambitious, trustworthy? What do you want to communicate? Amazing. So confident is what I'm getting as responses. Please, I hope you are also noting them down in your notebook for your future reference. Trustworthy, efficient, confident. Lovely. Once you're done with this page, please leave me a message that says done. Okay. Delightful, efficient, trustworthy, organized, ambitious, responsive, very important. Yes, very good. Okay. Lovely. Let's move to the next page. So do you want to come across as faithful, honorable, modern, unique, insightful, enthusiastic, considerate, excited, authentic? Okay. Responsive, organized. This is your third page. I hope while you're also putting these down in the chat box, you are noting it down in your notebook as well. Okay, so creative, dedicated is what I'm getting. Cooperative, balanced, lovely, disciplined, dedicated, creative. Great, great. Faithful. Amazing. All right, great. So are we done with this page as well? Can I have that on message? Disciplined, modern, fearless, excited, unique, zealous. Approachable. Okay, lovely. All right. So I would want you to just park this list aside for now, and I will tell you how we're going to make use of it later in the session. Okay. So now, what's very, very important to understand when you are creating or thinking of creating a positive first impression is there are three very major aspects of it. First is you as an individual. So, what is it that you want to communicate? We just made a full list. This is what I want to communicate. Secondly, what background are you coming from? What is your culture? What are your strengths? All of these things is what you need to understand. Then the second thing that is very important when you're creating a first impression is the stranger. So, who is the stranger? Where is he coming from? What is his background like? That is going to become very important again. All right. And thirdly, what is the situation where you're meeting this stranger? Is it an official situation? Is it an interview? Is it probably your college premises? You're going to be meeting all of your friends for the first time when you're coming to college on the first day? Or is it a more relaxed and casual situation where you're meeting this person in a coffee shop? So, all of this comes into play when you are thinking of creating a first impression, right? So, all of them are independent in themselves, yet they are quite dependent on each other. And the most and foremost thing that's very, very important here is the inner you. It's very important to understand who I am on the inside, and it is very important to understand how I want to present that on the external, right? So, your inner you becomes your first impression. That's going to be the core of your first impression at all times. Only then will you be authentic. That's where we're going to be doing a process on understanding our self image, which is the inside image that I have about myself. Okay. So, when you are also going to meet somebody and the kind of first impression you need to create, you want to think, all right? So, what did we just do when we did the process earlier? we thought of the entire situation. Have you've thought of the entire situation that you're going for a job interview? Okay, so for that, what is the impression that I want to create? I listed multiple things over there, right? So my goal, if I see over here, whenever I'm creating a first impression, it will start from the goal that I want to achieve at that point in time. So when I'm going to go for a first interview, the goal that I want to achieve over there is to actually get that job, is to crack that interview, right? And who is the stranger that's involved over there? The stranger that is involved over there is going to be the interviewer. All right, so I've understood who this interviewer is. And then, based on the list that I have created, now I have to focus and look at the kind of appearance I'm going to create. And so, the appearance, what would it be? How are my clothes? Are they ironed, not ironed? Is my hair in place, not in place? Am I walking in with a confident body language or not? Am I actually sitting with a good, confident body language or not? And when I'm walking in, how is my etiquette? Did I knock on the door? Did I ask to be seated in? These all create my first impression, right? So I have to understand what is my goal for the day, what do I want to achieve in that particular meeting with whoever it might be, who is the person that is going to be involved over there, and thirdly, what kind of an impression do I want to create? So, based on the list that we just made. Okay, so all of this, again, like I am mentioning, is going to start with what I think about myself, what is my inner self. So, with that, we will move to the next part, that is our self image. So, what is this self image? Self image is simply what I think about myself, about my physical self, and about my mental self. Okay, so am I thinking all good things about myself? Am I thinking all negative things about myself? Am I thinking a blend of both? That creates my self image. So let me help you differentiate this. If I have people around me saying that, you're good at this, but I think out of those five things that people have told me I'm good at, I'm probably good at only two. So that is my self image. What I think about myself becomes my self image. So we are going to do a process to understand our self image right now and what we think about ourselves. So, again, in your notebooks, please list 5 to 10 things that you love about yourself. It could simply be, I love that I am a caring person. I love my height. I love the way I dress. Or I love that, I am a confident person. Or any traits or attributes that you love about yourself. Write, create a list of at least 5 to 8 things of that. Quickly, if you have any more questions that you've not understood of how to answer this, leave them in the chat box and I'll explain. Quickly write down these 5 to 8 things in your notebook of what you love about yourself. Has everyone understood? Great. So I'm getting a lot of responses. Lovely. I hope you have noted that down in your notebooks as well. Okay, so my height, I'm friendly. caring. If you would like some prompters, these are few things you can look at: that you're gracious, you're trustworthy, you're calm, you're optimistic. These are few things that you could probably rely on if you need more pointers. Okay, so I'm getting a few messages that say that they are done. Okay, loyal, kind to others, responsible, lovely. Very good. I'm getting such lovely answers. Great. I'm so glad that we've been able to identify these things about ourselves, of the things that we love. It's very rare that you're able to identify that. Amazing. Great. So now we will move to the next one. Write 5 to 8 things that you dislike about yourself. I don't like, the way I possibly talk. I get angry very fast. I'm short tempered, so I dislike that. Or I tend to get hyper. I dislike that. Or I tend to get anxious or nervous in before any important situations. I dislike that. It could be anything. Write 5 to 8 points of that next to the things that you have written about that you love about yourself. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of answers for this as well. I hope you're noting it down in your notebook too. Okay. Procrastination. Okay, yes, that's a major issue with a lot of us. Once you've noted down the 5 to 8 points in your notebook, please follow the chat box if you're done. Okay. Overthinking. Okay. Okay, I'm getting a lot of responses, but are we done with this, listing this down in our notebook? Please share that as well. You cannot say no to anyone. Okay. Okay, so now a few of us are done writing. Great. Okay. Done, done, done. Okay, let's move to the next one. Now I want you to write few positive things that your friends and family always say about you. Okay, so they might just keep saying that you're caring. They might keep saying that you are good at heart, that you are very responsible. Whatever it is that your friends and family say positive about you, I want you to make a list of that now. The third column would be few positive things that your friends and family say about you. Something that they say continuously about you on a day-to-day basis. People pleaser, okay. Your friends might say you're one of the most you're a friend in need always. Whenever I need a friend, you're always there. You're a good listener. These are all positive things that they say about you, that you're mature. That you are always motivated and you motivate others. That is also a positive thing that they can say about you. Okay. All right. So is everybody done writing this down in their notebooks? Please share done in the chat box. Motivating others, caring, friendly, mature. Okay, so a lot of us saying that we are done. We will now move on to the next one, that is few of the negative things that our family and friends always say about us. It's not necessary that it might be true. It could be something that they say from their perception and thought process, but something that they constantly keep saying and you feel it's a negative thought. Okay. Straightforward, panic, not bold. I hope you're writing it down in your notebook as well. Okay. Once you're done with your list, please put it in the chat box that I'm done. Overthinking, mood swings, stubborn. Lovely. So a lot of us are done. Okay. So now I want you all to create this in your notebooks, this table that's showing on the slide, and put all your lists together on one page. So you may take a landscape sheet of your page and make this table and put the list. So whatever you love about yourself, what you had put in your table, in your list earlier, shift that entire list over here. Write it down quickly. The dislike about myself, what you had written earlier, put that onto this table, and the positives and the negatives that my family says. Okay, once you've created this table and put everything on that, share done with me on the chat. So I'll tell you what's to be done next. Okay, so a lot of us are done. All right, so once you have listed everything in this box, I now want you to identify for yourself that, of course, what you love and dislike about yourself is something that you believe in. But the positives and the negatives that my family says about me, do I really believe each and everything that they say? If they say, my family says that there are five, I have listed that there are five negatives that my family says, that I am short tempered, I am not responsible, I get anxious really fast, I get bored really fast, and I overthink. These are five things that my family says about me. Out of this, I only believe that what is true is that I get angry really fast and I overthink. So I want you to tick mark these two things that you really believe about, that is true about you. The others that you don't think are true about you, do not tick mark those. All right. So obviously for the first two columns, love and dislike about myself, I believe all of it. But in the next two columns, the positives and the negatives, there will be certain things that you will say, yes, I believe in this and I agree with my family on this aspect. But on these other aspects, I do not agree. So the aspects that you agree on, please tick mark those. And once you're done with tick marking, please share that in the chat box that I am done. Okay, so a lot of us are done with this process. All right, so a lot of us are done. So let me explain to you what have we really done over here. Whatever people say about us and whatever we think about us, sometimes it might be true and sometimes it might not be true. But the point here is that whatever I believe to be true and I accept and I believe, yes, this is good about me, this is not so good about me. My family says this about me. They are 80% right and 20% I don't agree. So the 80% that I agree with then eventually becomes my self image, because that is what I start thinking about myself, right? So all that you have really written about you in this table is actually your self image, because these are things that I believe and I accept about myself, and I tell people, you know what, this is good about me, this is probably not the best quality about me. So these are things that I believe, and that's how I have shaped my mind about myself. So I really hope that you have a good list of things that are on the positive side with you right now, and some that are not so positive. But that's fair and that's okay to have a balance of both. All right. Now, the point comes, what are you really thinking about yourself? Whether you're thinking yourself to be this way or you're thinking yourself to be this way. That's what we've done in the earlier table. People will say a lot of things, people will do a lot of things. They'll say you're not so bright in this, you're not so good in that, all of those things. At the same time, they will also say that you're good in this and you're good in that. I will still choose to believe only maybe few of the things. But that's where I'm shaping my self image. I might look like this, but I believe I look like this, is where my self image gets shaped. A word of caution here. I don't mean to say that if you do not have six pack abs, start thinking you have six pack abs. I'm not saying that. But the point here is that if I am good enough and I think I'm not good enough, is where I'm hampering my self image, which is where it will start reflecting on my external and it will start showing to people. Remember the slide that said that your first impression is a reflection of your mind and heart? That is what really happens. Now, let's understand what are the factors that really influence this self image of ours. Your constant mood changes. I start feeling high, low, all of those things happen to me. And the days that I am feeling negative, or every day that I am feeling low, I have a lot of these days that I'm feeling low, I'll start thinking negative if I'm feeling low. And that's where my self image kind of gets affected. The second and very important is my childhood. So, when we are born, we don't come with any preconceived notions about ourselves. We come with a blank slate. Then, what starts happening is I start exploring myself. I see that I start seeing my self in the mirror. I start observing my features. People around me start telling me things. They'll start calling me champ and they'll start calling me, you're so good at this, you're so good at that. They'll motivate me, they'll encourage me. Or sometimes they might say that, you're not good at this, you're not good at that. And that's where things start shaping in our mind. Our perception about ourselves, our skills, our abilities starts building. And that's where my childhood affects a lot in my self image, right? The next that is very important is any eating disorders that I am going through. What do you mean by eating disorders? Is I might be perfectly normal and okay in my body size, weight, everything. But I might feel that, what, I really don't look as good as that pictures in the magazine, the models. All right, or I don't look like this film star. I need to stop eating. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to diet. All of these affect my self image. So start accepting your body and who you are as is, unless you're having health issues. All right. And even if you're having health issues and you do want to lose weight, go with a very positive mindset into it. Do not go with a stressed or fearful mindset. Body dysmorphic disorders, like I mentioned, when I stand in front of the mirror, I start noting down flaws. Ye galat hai, my hair is not right, my eyes are not okay, my face structure is a little off, I have flabby arms, I have this, I have a tummy, blah, blah, blah. I start thinking of all of these things. But people might never think of that. So it's a body dysmorphic on my end. I am being overly critical about myself, which then shapes my self image. So, simple exercise is when you stand in front of the mirror, start looking at the positives of your entire appearance. You will start shaping a more positive self image for yourself. All right. Now, this question comes, how do I really improve it? All that is said and done till now, it's okay. My childhood say I have developed this kind of a self image. All this while I have been talking negatively to myself. It's okay, we are human, it happens. Now the point is, how do I really improve on it? How do I really build my self image and my self esteem? Right? So, what are we going to do? I'm going to share a few steps with you. First and foremost is explore your personal body and self image with its strengths and limitations. So be aware of what are your strengths and be aware of what are your limitations. But as much as possible, focus on your strengths more and downplay your limitations. Make your strengths more stronger. That's where it will start working for you more positively. Second is confront any thinking distortions. What do you mean by thinking distortions? People are telling me I am good at a particular thing, but I say, no, 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 they are just being nice to me. I'm really not that good at it. So that is a thinking distortion. Okay. So accept and start thinking positively. Challenge any misleading assumptions. So, misleading assumptions means I'm probably not overweight, but I assume I'm overweight and I don't look as good as the other people. So, that is a misleading assumption. Okay. Then is accept and love who you are. That's the first step. We kind of tend to love other things and materialistic things, but we forget to love ourselves. We try and seek love outside, that people should love me. But what about me loving myself? That's very important. Be comfortable with yourself. And lastly, be a friend to yourself with positive affirmations. When a friend comes to you with a problem, with a challenge, they're not feeling good, they've done something wrong, what do you tell them? Do you start being negative and start telling them, you remember last time also you did this, and what are you doing? This is so terrible. Do you start saying that? Or do you start comforting them and saying good things about them? Right? So you're positive. If you're telling your friends that, by being a good friend to them, you need to first start being good friends to yourself and start reminding yourself of all the positives that you have, and accept flaws and being human and having imperfections. It's very natural. We are all human. Nobody is perfect. So accept that. All right. And let go of any exaggerations that you talk about yourself, any negative thoughts, and stop bullying yourself. Be good to yourself. All right. Accentuate your positives. Like I said, accentuate your strengths. Don't only focus on the weaknesses. The more you will accentuate the strength, the more stronger you will get. And replace any criticism that with encouragement. Stop saying you can't do it or I can't do it. Start saying you can. And lastly, don't feel guilty about things beyond your control. Right now, the entire situation is not in our control. So there is no point feeling dull, sad, sorry, depressed. I can't go out. I can't do this. I can't do that. Nothing. So stop being guilty about things that are not in your control whatsoever. Right? Lastly, I'd like to explain to you that what are we really doing here? We are sort of bringing whatever is on the internal, so all our positives coming out in the external through our first impression. That is your meaning of authenticity. That is what we mean by actually bringing our inside to the outside, and it has to be authentic. Creating a positive first impression is not anywhere superficial, is not being untrue. So, as much as possible, be aware of what your self image is, what your strengths are, and how you can put it out to the front in the most positive way through your first impressions. Right? And why is this entire thing so important? Because the world is getting smaller, competition is increasing, everything right now is changing very dynamically. So by the time you actually graduate out after 2 years, the entire market is going to be so wonderful that whatever you start learning from now will get very easily implemented when you actually start off. All right. So this is called that economic transition that we are going through. Your first impressions are really going to matter, and especially essential to survive this change that we are really going through. Three major things that we need to upgrade in ourselves right now is, one, of course, getting accustomed to new technology, because everything is going virtual now. Even our sessions, our classes is going to virtual, which is happening worldwide. So being updated with that. Second, understanding and knowing people, being compassionate towards yourself and others. And thirdly, having a great positive first impression. That is where you are going to be able to really survive this change that we are going through. And eventually, once you actually start off after 2 years with the real life and the real world, is where all of these learnings of yours are really going to make a huge difference. So you have to learn today, implement it from today onwards, and walk the talk all the days so that it becomes a second skin. All right. So with that, I would like to end the session, and I would like to request you all to please share your experience and one learning that you had. I'm sharing a link in the chat box. Please log on to that link and share what is it that you have experienced, what is it that you liked, or what is it that you really learned in today's session. Any other questions, feel free to write in the chat box and I'd be happy to answer. Over to you, Bali, while they answer on the Mentimeter.
Thank you, Ritu.
My pleasure.
So let's see the response. And are you sharing sharing your screen for the response?
Yes, I'll do that. Just give me a second.
Did you get any responses, Ritu?
Not yet. I'm not able to view anything. So if everyone can just let me know if they have, Students, if you can just mention in the chat group if you have answered any of the responses.
So a couple of students have posted done.
So I guess I'm not able to share it. So we'll continue with the Q&A.
Okay.
And I'll share the screenshot with you later.
Okay, sure. Okay, so I have a couple of questions and students are still posting a lot of questions.
Right.
So first one is very common and most of the students has written this question and they want to ask, sometimes, it is desperate situation, desperate measures. We try to make impression, but we mess up. What to do after that?
All right. So if you're talking about desperate situations, desperate measures, these could be, so are they saying that it is, the impression has gone bad?
Yes.
Or, okay. So in this kind of a situation, the easiest and the best thing is to reach out to that person the very next day and possibly try and understand from them of, where do you think you went wrong, and take a very positive sort of a feedback from them or a negative feedback and try and work on that. Once that happens, you go back and take that feedback and work on yourself. I understand it's not always going to be that you create that perfect first positive impression until you excel the art in it. So it's completely okay to take feedback wherever you felt that you went wrong, and go back, reflect, and do this exercise again, and you'll be able to perfect it the next time.
Right. The next question is related to the current situation. Most of us are working from home. And if you can, throw some light on work from home code of conduct, because we have been watching a lot of videos, a lot of, spoofs,
Right.
where people are not appropriately dressed. And other than that, if they come to, situation where they have to stand, mostly they are not appropriately dressed. So if you can, throw some light on this.
So when now it's become a common thing to probably sit in pajamas and t-shirts throughout the day when you're working from home. Now the most important thing that we want to look at over here is when we dress appropriately, like we were dressing when we go to work. Yeah, I don't expect you to be wearing pure formal trousers at home, but maybe a cotton trouser and a proper iron shirt. When we do that and sit at home, has a huge psychological impact on us first. So the more you start feeling you're actually at work, if you're going to be sitting in your casual clothing and you're going to be sitting in relaxed clothing at home, you will not be as productive as you would like. So first is that it increases my own mental well-being and my productivity. And second is we have a lot of meetings online. We have a lot of video chats. We have Zoom meetings, whatever it might be. In those situations, I know we can only see this much, but even this much needs to be very well presented. So do your accessorizing, do your hair, makeup, whatever it might be, and present the best foot forward. So basic things would be that if you're comfortable wearing t-shirts at home, at least make sure that you're wearing a collared t-shirt, which is well ironed and washed, and your hair is in place when you're sitting in front of the video. If you have already a business casual dress code while you're working in office. So these are few things that you can possibly look at.
Right. So, if you can throw some light on color coding also. So, as per the profession, we choose colors.
Right.
So, if you can share some tips on that also.
So depending on the profession that you are in, if you are relating to a creative industry, so creative industries would include graphic designing, advertising, all of these. Mine is a creative industry, image management. So these kind of industries, we could work around with a lot more colors. It could be brighter, darker colors, and because that stimulates your creativity. Whereas if you are related to an industry that is more banking and finance related, you want to restrict colors, very bright colors, and instead want to go with more soothing and duller muted colors like a sky blue or a white or a beige or a baby pink, because these calm you down and they automatically help you take more sane decisions. So that's where you want to work around your colors. If you want to come across a lot more impactful and you want to come more powerful, go with color combinations which are very high in contrast. So maybe a white and a black. Okay. So I did not want to come across very empowering to them, but more approachable, because today's topic was such where I wanted them to open up with me. So my color contrast is a lot more lesser. So even though it is more on the darker side, it's not very dull, but it is contrast is a little less. So my power automatically becomes lesser. So these are few ways where you could play around with it.
I think they'll get more clarity once you start your workshops at the institute. So,
Absolutely.
there we can
Looking forward.
address more questions like that. My next
Correct.
question is related to uplifting your mood and confidence. So, if you can share some tips to, when it comes to grooming,
Right.
why by doing few things, if you can uplift our mood and confidence.
Absolutely. So the first and foremost thing that we want to do every day is to sort of wear things that we like in terms of the color, in terms of that they look good on me. So when I wear it, a lot of people appreciate the way I look and I feel comfortable in it. Second is avoid wearing anything that is too tight or fitting. That's not going to keep you mentally in that position of being very out there and comfortable. So avoid that. Thirdly, having a dull and depressed day, either choose for colors which are calming like blues or whites, or choose colors that are slightly more brighter but calming, which could be a dull yellow or a dull orange, dull red. Don't go for extreme brights that's fighting too much of attention. So neon will be too much to take on a dull day because I'm feeling dull already and it's like hammering me to get uplifted. We don't want that. So go for slightly more medium colors which are not too bright. And a very interesting exercise apart from clothing, also when it comes to uplifting your mood, is called power posing in body language. So it's called the Superwoman pose. Every day in front of the mirror, you just stand for about 2 to 3 minutes and hold your arms on your waist and just stand and smile to yourself for 2 to 3 minutes. We are activating our happy hormones. It's called the power posing. So automatically you uplift your moods apart from clothing as well. So that's another way.
Okay, so that was for the ladies. What about the
No,
gents?
for men
They
as well.
said
Because
Wonder
the pose is
Woman.
it's called the Superwoman and the Wonder Woman pose. It works perfectly fine for the men as well.
Let's call it Superman then.
Yeah, fine. Superman pose for the men and the Superwoman pose for the women.
Great. So next question is related to brand awareness and brand consciousness. So some people are very much brand aware, very much brand conscious. Do you think having brands in wardrobe actually uplifts, or it should be contemporary wardrobe?
Not necessary. So if the person cannot afford brands, does not mean they can't manage an image. They most definitely can. A brand would only uplift if I am dealing in that kind of a society where people are very aware of the brand, and I as an individual can actually afford to live that sustainable lifestyle of buying brands throughout the year and in the coming years as well. There is no point that I fit into a crowd, I go and spend 20,000 rupees right now, and then I'm not able to afford that again. So that's not going to be affordable and sustainable. So brands definitely not a need per se to build an image. uh, the point is understanding what I really need as per my profession, as per my lifestyle, and as per my goals in life, and making sure they are quality within my budget. So brands per se are not a major requirement.
Great, great. So, Ritu, I must thank you for this impactful session. And I'm sure students have also enjoyed this session, and they will definitely add a lot of things to their grooming, grooming curriculum. I would say grooming curriculum.
Correct.
On behalf of IIBM family, I wish you great success and may you soar great heights in your career. If you want to say any final words to the students.
I think thank you so much to you and Jay sir and Poonam ma'am for having me here. And apart from that, to the students, I think today's session, if you start implementing it right away with the whole self-image exercise that we did and understanding the kind of first impression you want to really create, it will start becoming your second skin, and much easier when you have the actual uh, you know occasion to use it in your interviews and things like that. So go ahead with it and feel free to sort of reach out at any time via the institute for any help and suggestions, and I'm there. And all the very best, and don't let this virtual sessions get to you. And we are working as we would normally, so all the very best.
Thank you, Ritu. And I must say, this is not the end. This is the beginning of our everlasting association. With the hope of meeting you again, long live IIBM and Jai Hind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.